So this is our last session of with these pictures. It's about predestination. And this is quite a difficult attribute of Gyan, because sometimes people feel that they would not like this to repeat exactly this particular way every 5,000 years forever, right? And also there are people who say, well, what about free will? And the thing about Gyan, if you look at the whole package and these four things that we're looking at, the soul, the God, karma, and destiny, and then you have all the ingredients that are there that speak to us about a paradox. And paradox is quite difficult for people to manage. Generally speaking, people prefer it. It's either this or it's that. And paradox, it's both. And then you say, can't handle that. Yeah. And so we have to handle it because it is like that. How do we handle it? Mostly we have to churn it to a point where we're able to see clearly that it is both and not either or. And what they say in psychology is that if somebody can handle paradox, it's a sign that they're psychologically stable. People in Gyan who spend a lot of time having waste thoughts do so because they're not really working with paradox. And then they tend to use what I call faulty logic. And so I want to try to explore this a little bit. You see the swastika in the middle of it. And you see the 5-point, understand ourselves in terms of these 5 forms. And each of the 5 forms is perfect. And we tend to be comfortable with the idea that I am perfect because we would like to be perfect, yeah? And if we wouldn't like to be perfect, there's a number of people who would encourage us to be perfect. That's quite different from the other picture about deity, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahman. Because it's quite difficult for a person to say, I am a deity, and at the very same time, I am a Shudra. How are you going to say that? Because they're so opposite of each other, right? Yet, if you want to be Swadarshan Chakradhari, you have to say that. And then you think, okay, Swadarshan Chakradhari is Vishnu and Krishna. And Swadarshan Chakradhari means I am a deity and I am a Shudra. So it's very, very difficult for a normal person to think like that. Can you think like that? No. But by sitting here, you have to think like that. So how do we go from what is completely unacceptable to, yes, I get it. So this is, in this whole process that we've been doing together, we've been talking about going from Tamo Pradhan to Satopradhan. And you're comfortable with the idea that the pilgrimage is going from Tamopradhan to Satopradhan, which is exactly the same thing as going from Shudra to deity. But then you have to again become Shudra. And you say, no, 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 why? And this is because we are limited in our consciousness. Limited consciousness means that you want to arrive at a destination and stay there and not carry on after that, right? So many people in the path of bhakti, they say, okay, my destination is I will go to nirvana and that's it, I will stay there. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, where did I come from? How did I get here? You came from nirvana. So if you go to nirvana, it means you can come back here as well. So there is no stop. So we're going round and round and up and down forever. And you say, oh, that's a long time. It's a very long time. And one thing that Baba is talking to us about is that we have to really think about being eternal and immortal. And being eternal and immortal in movement. So you go to nirvana, you come back, you go around the cycle, you go to nirvana, you come back, and it keeps on going and it's identical. Then everybody says, what's the point? Right? Do you say, what's the point? Or not? Well, you do. And so you are the point. Isn't it? I am a pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful point of light. So what does a point of light do? It goes round and up and down eternally. And you still say, what is the point? You are the point. This is why Baba says we have to churn. And in the legends about churning, they say, you know the story about churning, that there was a big turtle and the earth was on top of him and there was a very big snake and all this was in the ocean. And then on one end of the snake was all the devils and on the other end of the snake was all the deities. And they pulled and churned the ocean and out came nectar. So there's a lot of symbolism in this image. And if you want to see the picture of this, you have to go to Bangkok airport because it's right there in the airport, a huge, big thing. So Thailand is also a place where they believe in Ram and Sita. So the golden age India would have been just an area around Delhi, known as Pakistan. And then as we get to the end of the Silver Age, it expands and it covers those countries where you can see also signs of the deity Dharma. So Indonesia, Thailand, so many countries in that general area. And so here we are in Shiv Baba's school and we're learning the meaning of all this. And it's very deep and very subtle. And we are not very deep or very subtle, right? But by doing this, he actually makes us become gradually more and more deep and more subtle. And so we stay studying this for a long time, because it is a journey where we are going. So from Tamil Pradhan, which is quite gross and not very subtle, to Sato Pradhan, which is very subtle, and very refined and very deep. And it takes us one lifetime. And next to 84 births, one lifetime is very short. And some people, they have 2 shots at the confluence age and 2 lifetimes. Even one time Baba said, it's possible you could have as many as 3 lives as a BK, because there's enough time for that. But mostly it's kind of better to start your BK life relatively young and hang in there until finally you get it. And because it's a process of going round and round and round and up and down and round in our mind to be able to grasp what this existence is. And the first key point in our thinking is, I am eternal and immortal forever. And I am going through time. And as a deity soul, we're supposed to be all former deities. Is that right? Are you a former deity? Yes? Are you sure? You're not, but you're not a deity now, right? No. So that means deities decline and they turn into us. And then when the soul has arrived in the Iron Age, then according to the description, and we would have reached a Shudra stage. Yes, no. Yeah, we did. And so we're dealing with purification, with purging the soul. And we're dealing with this pure karma. So all this idea of purification and pure karma fits with our linear thinking. You're going from somewhere to somewhere, but it's still limited. You know, any kind of line, however long it is, it has a start and it has a finish. And so that's called limited. But when you make a circle, you don't know where is the beginning or where is the end, because it's a circle. And so he's telling us that we have to go from thinking in a linear way to thinking in a circular way. So a circle means that the end and the beginning touch each other at some point. So he says that the place where there is maximum change, we call this the confluence age, because you're going all the way from Shudra to deity in one lifetime. And it takes 84 lives to go from deity to Shudra. And the sign of this is that you go from Vishnu to Brahma, and then Brahma to Vishnu. You've seen the picture, there's a picture in Bhakti Marg of Vishnu, and out of his belly button comes a lotus, and in that flower is Brahma, and out of his belly button comes another lotus, and in his lotus flower there's Vishnu. And this is an indication of the identical repetition. Because if you go from Brahma to Vishnu, okay, but then Vishnu to Brahma, that means you return to where you were in the first place. And it's quite difficult for people to grasp this idea of going round and round in an identical circle, because we are motivated by this urge to progress. Yeah, it's a natural internal urge inside a human being that I want to get better and better, and I want to evolve. And so we have the idea of evolution, and Darwin is talking about how we evolve. And I was talking with a person at lunchtime who said, well, what is all this, what you do? Because, you've got to go through 8,400,000 animals until you finally become a human being. And that's the greatest thing there is. And I said to him, well, if this is it, it's not that great, right? Because the condition of human beings at the moment is not very good, no? Lots of character defects are there, lots of crimes are there, lots of poverty, distress, difficulty, many, many signs of negative karma. Not very many signs of positive karma. Even people that they have lots of money, but they still get sick. They still have family problems. So that doesn't fit. But people believe it because it corresponds to this urge to progress. And then what Baba says to us is that there is absolutely no evolution except in the confluence age. For all the rest of time is decline. And that's what the swastika is about. But let's look at one of the other hexagons here. The one on the left, you see, you go from a deity to a kshatriya, to Vaishya, to Shudra, to Brahmin. And this is you. So the same you becomes a deity, and then the same you declines into a kshatriya, and the same you declines a little bit more, and you become a Vaishya. And the same you declines a little bit more and becomes a Shudra. And the very same you goes up and becomes a Brahmin. So even though you have a deep resistance to the idea of I am a deity and I am a Shudra, but you can see the progression, and it's the same you who goes from the highest to the lowest. So from Vishnu to Brahma, or from you as a deity to you as a Brahmin, is a long, long, long decline. But then Brahma to Vishnu, they say in 1 second. So you need quite a lot of seconds to get to that 1 second in the confluence age, because it's quite long. And yet there is a moment where there is a shift. So I think that a lot of the time in the confluence age is getting ready for that moment. And the sign of this sudden shift is what happens in a chrysalis. You know chrysalis? A chrysalis is when a caterpillar, what does he do? He's eating all the time, nothing else. He eats and eats and eats. And he sheds his skin quite a lot of times because he gets fat and he can't fit in it. And then he gets a bigger one and it keeps going. And then a certain point comes where he spins silk around himself, and then he stays there for a while. And during that time, there is a transformation, or also called a metamorphosis, which means like total transformation. And then a moment comes when he comes out and he's a butterfly. And that's how all butterflies are. But it's a very good representation of what happens to us, because when we come to Baba, what have we been before? Because he says that this is about becoming Manusha to Devta, right? And so what does a Manusha do? What do they say in this world? They say people are consumers. Any of you do business? Yeah, so you're interested in consumers because they're going to buy your product. So consumer is an eater. It's like a caterpillar, is it eat, 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 eat. And then it becomes time. So what have we been doing? Before Gyan, we were very nice, good consumers, yeah? And then he says, now you have to give up all that. Not live to eat, but eat to live. It's a simplification of our lives. And also we start to do tapasya. And we go inside. So this period of the Brahman life, this time of tapasya, is quite similar to you spin a cocoon around yourself and you go through this process of change. Now, if you would cut open a chrysalis with a nice, good, sharp razor and see what's inside, you would not find a half-formed butterfly, because the caterpillar doesn't slowly become a butterfly, no. The caterpillar melts and becomes just like a jelly. And it stays like that for quite a long time. And then suddenly it becomes a butterfly, and very quick. And then it comes out. And so that's also, I think, quite useful for us to consider that right now, Baba sometimes says, you're not in the old world and you're not in the new world. You're in between. And you're traveling. This stage of traveling is where you feel that you're not really moving as quickly as you should be, isn't it? And so if you think that when the caterpillar melts, it just stays melted jelly, and you can't really see that there's any change going on. It just stays like a jelly. But what's going on inside it is something called imaginal cells appear. And these imaginal cells are like messages that say, you're going to become a butterfly. And the other cells kill them. But then some more come, and gradually they take precedence over the other cells. And then very, very quickly, it becomes the butterfly. And so when you think about it in that way, I think it helps to give you patience. Because in this process, we do need patience, because you don't get the sense that you're moving. You just keep doing the same thing over and over again, year after year after year, and you don't really feel that you're moving, right? But you have faith that you're moving. I must be moving, because you can't do all this and not get any kind of result. But some people, they get, a bit anxious that, if I go at this rate, I'm going to need 6 or 7 kalpas to actually get anywhere, right? You don't have one lifetime, which is rapidly running out. So this is because the change happens very quickly towards the end. He says, karmatit stage. So then the thing that's important for us to grasp is that all these things, whatever is going on, they're predestined. And that's identical. That's a difficult one. But looking at the progression, deity to Kshatriya, to Vaishya, to Shudra, to Brahman, to deity, you can see the logic of it, even though it doesn't go according to an evolutionary logic, but yet there is a logic to it. And that this is the time of parivartan, which means just returning to your original condition. So in some ways we're moving forward, but in other ways we're going all the way back to the beginning. And both of these things is going on at the same time, moving forward and returning to the beginning simultaneously. Because what we need to grasp is the totality of the self, which goes all the way from the very best to the very worst, and the whole thing is an integrated whole. And we grow up and we believe that we have to become better and better and better. And then we keep on hearing about we got to change your sanskaras, right? What about the next Iron Age? You're going to need those sanskaras again. So you can make them dormant, but it's better not to get rid of them altogether. And so then you have to think, is it okay for me to become a mess? And then we have to say, it is what it is. We like the idea of being perfect, but we don't like the idea of the deterioration, the degeneration, because we prefer progress. And we live in cultures where they're always talking about progress, evolution. And Baba says, no. Only in the confluence age you rise. So it is called Purushottam Sangam Yuga, right? And he says that the deities are not allowed to know this knowledge. Not allowed. Because if they would know, they would not be happy. Because they would know that no matter what, where I'm going is directly to hell. And it's going to take me 5,000 years to fall. That's unacceptable, right? You cannot bear it. It's unbearable. The only time when we can actually handle this kind of idea is when we already fallen down. And from here on, it's up. And so we cannot bear this truth at any other time. And so he gives it to us at the time when it's bearable. That makes sense, right? And he says, you were deity, and now you're learning to become a deity again. And this is if you look at the different scriptures, the purpose of the contact between God and man, or God and humanity, is this transformation. And you get transformed from ignorant to knowledgeable, from impure to pure, from ordinary to special, etc., etc. All this transformation is what happens when you're in contact with God. And what happens when you're in contact with matter, time and space, is deterioration. And that's how it is. And so we are shifting our thinking to move from what we thought was a good idea to what is actually the reality. Because Shiv Baba keeps on telling us, I'm the ocean of knowledge and the purifier. And I'm your father, and I give you the inheritance, which is the knowledge. Right? And what you do with the knowledge creates your fortune. So every BK processes the Gyan differently, meditates differently, understands it differently, and acts on it differently. And so every BK creates their fortune. And you cannot do it any other way than the way that you do it. Right? You cannot actually become another person, can you? You can only be yourself. And that also makes you begin to come in touch with the idea that the whole cycle and all the changes that take place, they're in you. And you follow this track. You know, there is an expression in the Murli that drama moves like a louse, right? Actually, it doesn't move like a louse at all. It's a wrong translation. There's something else which is actually correct. And there is an agricultural instrument which is for irrigation. And it has little cups. It goes round and round, and the cups fill up and they empty to somewhere else. And this machine is attached to a bull or an ox. And the ox goes round and round on a track. And he cannot go left or right or any other place except his track. And he has a tendency to go at his own speed. And he doesn't go faster or slower. And this is what is meant by Ju. Ju Masala. It's a Sindhi word. It's not a Hindi word. It's a Gujarati word too. And so this is how the drama works. And we are going around the cycle of the self. So in this, all of these rotations, we have to bring ourselves to the middle of this rotation. And you look around this 360-degree circle, and you see the different aspects of yourself. And you're not seeing anybody else, you're seeing your own self. And it cannot be any other way than this way, you see. So gradually, as you think about it, you begin to realize that there actually is no such thing as free choice. At the same time, you have to choose. This is a paradox. And what you find in the drama is that there are moments where there's nothing you can do, right? Circumstances are such that you just have to accept it. And then what do BKs say? They say drama, right? But then there are other circumstances where you have to do something. And the drama lets you know that you have choice right now. You have a window of opportunity. You have choice. Make a choice now. And then you have to choose. But what choice will you make? You will make the choice that corresponds to who you are. Right? Think about the different moments in your life where you made choices about the direction of your life, what you did, which had an impact. And any time you make a choice, like, for example, you say, okay, what shall I cook tomorrow? There are many possibilities, right? You could make, like today we had undium, right? That was a choice. And why would you make that choice? Because, good idea, let's have that. It corresponds to something in you. You know, and then yesterday we had enchilada. That's not Gujarati, it's Mexican. Enchilada, yeah, we'll have that. You know, and breakfast we had aloo pawa, right? Nice, right? So there is like a number of possibilities, which is not an infinite number, but a number. And you choose within those possibilities. Or you want to buy a car. You have different types of cars. And you will choose the car that corresponds partly to who you are, partly to what you want to do with it. And you will choose the color that corresponds to your taste and certain things. So that there's a lot of your choice that is all about, it corresponds to you. And you would not choose something that doesn't correspond to you. So this is the thing. You cannot be who you're not. You cannot like what you don't like. You like what you like. And so there are just many, many things about you that indicate the likelihood of your choices. And what these IT people do is they make algorithms. And they're so sharp and smart that they figured you out more well than you figured yourself out. And then you spend a lot of time and energy trying to, trip up the algorithms, right? So that they don't get it right. So you can say, aha, I'm free. But it's a tussle. Because what they're looking at is your tendencies, your sanskaras. Isn't it? So our sanskaras go through golden, silver, copper, iron version of themselves. But you really cannot be someone that you're not. And so you churn these things in such a way that gradually it becomes clear to you that the very, very best thing of all is that I am me. And that's really self-acceptance. That means you really understand yourself. You see the highest that you can go and the lowest that you can go. And when you've churned it adequately and sufficiently, you really wouldn't want to be any other way than the way that you are. And that's a very magnificent moment when you realize this, that, wow, the very best thing of all is that I am me. Sometimes you see someone, they have something you don't have, so you say, oh, I'd like to be like this person, I'd like to have what they have. But if you go a little deeper, you find that actually you don't. And the only thing that really takes you away from yourself, the real essence of yourself, is when you are body conscious. Because when you're body conscious, you come under the other influences. And sometimes even it is said in BK that if somebody is behaving in a way that is not, the way you think they should be behaving, Baba says, consider that they're under another influence. So the influence is a reaction to something that they perceived through their senses. But when you are totally yourself and you've come to terms with the best and the worst, that's good. Because then you've arrived, you've understood, who am I? I'm this one. This confluence age, which is called the diamond. So you go through your golden, silver, copper, iron, and then from iron you go to diamond. One thing that's quite interesting, the relationship between the diamond and what the diamond is made of. Because the diamond is completely clear, but it's made of carbon, inorganic carbon. And so inorganic carbon is black, right? But when you apply a lot of pressure and a lot of heat, it becomes a diamond, right? So all you need to become a diamond from inorganic carbon is heat and pressure. So what do you get in the confluence age? A lot of pressure, right? So that's good. You get a lot of pressure and you get a lot of heat. And if you don't have enough heat, Baba says you don't have enough yoga, because the yoga is the fire. And you have so much pressure from your karma that the only way you can handle it is to get into the fire of yoga. So that's how we get back to our original condition. And we become a Swadarshana Chakradhari. So how does that pan out practically speaking? I think one thing that was really quite interesting in a Murli of about a week or two ago, where Baba said, do not do any sins, right? But whatever sins you do, they're predestined. So you don't have any choice. But don't do it. But you will do it. But you're not allowed to do it. And you will have to pay. But you don't have any choice because it's predestined. And then you say, how do I handle this? You see? But it's a very, very interesting way of putting yourself face to face with this paradox. And so what should you do about how you feel about your sins? Because they're predestined. You don't have any choice. You have to do those mistakes. So what we need to do is to think, okay, these mistakes are necessary. How do you take advantage of your mistakes? Even very, very big mistake. Whatever Baba said, you defame the father or whatever, it's fixed in drama, you're predestined to do it. And you're a Maharati on top of it all. So that will make you crazy, because he is forcing us out of this linear thinking by saying things like that. So whenever you get in the Murli, some statements like this, they're really important because they destroy your normal way of thinking, or you avoid them until it comes around the next time where you can actually take advantage of this kind of statement that he will make. I see. So think of the very worst possible, stupidest thing that you've ever done. Can you think? Yeah. And think it was necessary. Because there's always some very important thing that you learn from it, which you couldn't know if you didn't make that mistake. And if you didn't know it, you wouldn't be the person that you are. You wouldn't have the expertise and the clarity about who you are. And you'd also still be susceptible to that kind of Maya. See, once you fully fall in the trap and get full on burnt and make a full on fool of yourself, you're not going to do it again, right? So it's important, right? And so that your relationship with that mistake becomes positive. If our relationship with our mistake is negative, then you feel guilty. And the guilty feeling is not very useful for a BK because it drains away your spiritual power. So we can't allow that. So whatever you did, you did. Whatever anybody thought about it, they thought about it. So what? So very important to use this mantra, so what? But what's our problem? Public opinion. Right? So if you are concerned about public opinion, go to the Silver Age, miss the Golden Age. That's what it means. But if you can stand in front of God as you are, and he says, you had to make that mistake, it's fixed in drama, don't worry about it. Now, how do you feel about yourself? And you have to be able to say, good. Because the bad feeling is only because of public opinion or what you internalize from public opinion. This is why we have the Ramayana, so that we can decide, do we want to be that? Right? What happens in the Ramayana? Everybody loses. Why? Because of being concerned about public opinion. And what they say about public opinion is there is nothing on this earth more unreliable than public opinion. Nothing on this earth more unreliable than public opinion. So you need to make that very, very firm. That public opinion, whether it's the outside public or the inside public or the family members or whoever it is, whatever their opinion is, it's none of your business. It's none of anybody's business. It doesn't matter. That takes a very strong positioning of yourself, that I am who I am and that's that. And if you don't like it, it's not my problem. Because you are not my judge. Is it right? Are you my judge? You're judging me all day long, but you're not my judge. Who is my judge? Baba. Right. And Baba said, very interestingly, I know who you are already in advance. I brought you in my school because you're my long lost and now found again, most cherished, beloved, sweetest soul who goes through deity, kshatri, all the different things. And yes, you come. You are suitable to make into a deity, with or without your mistakes or whatever. He doesn't bother about that, because he knows all of our births in advance. Is that right or not right? And what does public opinion say? Oh, God wouldn't like you if you do like this. He said, how do you know what I would like or not like? You don't know anything about me, But this public opinion takes over. And it's a very important point that we learn in BK. Do not think about public opinion. And what does everybody think about? Public opinion. So it's a very, very big practice to be true to yourself and not worry about public opinion. And there are some things that are said about truth. They say truth reveals itself, right? And public opinion is very fickle. You know, fickle, changeable. So one day they think you're wonderful, marvelous, and fantastic, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And the next day, So you can't have faith in that kind of thing, you see. Always, he says, remember, I selected you. And I know what you're going to do, sins and non-sins and whatnot and so forth. And I know who you are. And I select you every cycle. Yes? No. He doesn't say, oh, that was a mistake. I'll have another one next time. No. Yeah, sometimes you can say, oh, maybe God made a mistake. He shouldn't have chosen me. If he would really know who I am, he wouldn't have chosen me. You know, sometimes you think like that. He says, what a twit, you know. I know exactly who you are. I'm the creator. You're my creation. I know you. You don't know who you are. I know who you are. He said, no, isn't it? And so we need to, you know, he says, one Baba, no one else. What's the expression? Mera to ek, dusara na koi. Yeah. So if you listen to public opinion, that's woo, dusara, right? So then you're going against your own mantra. Because, you know, one of the tests you get in Gyan is called character assassination. Know what I mean by that? Yeah, the people say things about each other, you know. They make it up like, oh, yeah, they can make up anything they can think of. But if you listen to it, or if you give it power, then you are stepping off your seat of self-honor. So the person who really understands this point, they can, I think, quite well come into their power. Because how do people make you feel bad about yourself? Is by making comments, which may or may not be true. You know, and they'll find out something true about you, which you feel a little shame about, and they'll stick it to you, right? And why do they do that? Because they prefer unfair competition. And they think that by making you down, they can go up. Is that real? Is that true? Is that going to work or what? Is it going to work? No. So when you're in a situation like that, it's really important to remember, I'm selected by God. He's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. He selected me. And if you guys don't think I'm any good, that's your problem. It's not my problem. See? And if you don't love me, that's your problem because I'm so lovable, right? You have to say that to yourself. Yeah? Is it true? Definitely. But it's a test, you see. It's a barrier. And we have to cross this barrier of character assassination. Because this is a competition, right? He says there's a horse race. Sometimes there's a horse race. You have to go fast, gallop fast. And different expressions he says for this competition. And he says, Do not compare yourself with each other, right? And what do? Compare yourself with each other, obviously. He says, don't do that because you don't really know too much about the other person. Not really. No. He says, compare yourself with Brahma Baba. Or then some people say, oh, he didn't know Brahma Baba. Okay, but you know a lot about him. Okay, there are some very, very good yogis. You can compare yourself with them, like Dadis or Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Janki, Dadi Prakash Mani, big yogis. So you know them. And why would you compare yourself with them? Because this is a process of refinement of the self. But then he gives us a very good mantra. He says, past is past. So it's an identically repeating drama, but at the same time, 1 second ago doesn't exist anymore. Where is it? It's gone. Even it's recorded, it's still gone. You know? Even if somebody remembers it, so what? You know? So Dadi Janki had once told me, you have to practice to let everything go second by second. And sometimes Baba had said the needle of time is like a needle on a record. You know, those old 78 records where they used to have the songs on that. That's the only time that actually exists, the present moment. Because the future hasn't happened yet, even though it's predestined. We don't know what it is yet. And the past is gone because it's not here anymore. And so we have to try quite hard to be in the present moment, because that's the only time you actually have any choice. So one thing Daddy used to tell us about, she said a lot of people, they're worried about the future and they regret the past. So they actually miss the present because they're busy in those other time zones. So if you have faith that whatever is in the future, it'll be fine, because drama is beneficial. So even if you make some big sin or whatever it happens, it's still drama and it's still beneficial. And you're still moving on your pilgrimage. You're sitting in the boat of truth, right? Which rocks, no doubt, but don't jump out because that's not a good spot to be. Stay in the boat of truth. Even if it rocks, it's not going to sink. That's its definition. It doesn't sink. And whatever happened, so what? You did whatever you did. You'll pay the price, you pay the price. And so what? So give yourself this mantra, so what, is a good mantra. Because otherwise people have control over you by making you feel bad. And that's called giving away your powers, and not a good idea. Am I right? You won't do that? And you will just know that I'm going from the lowest of the low, via all sorts of dramas, to the highest of the high, and that's that. And so it is. And, you know, every BK has to go through all sorts of dramas. And every BK has to pass through all the tests. I don't think anyone is exempt. We get ill, right? We do stupid things. We don't get appreciated, etc., etc. All the usual stuff. And how do we handle it? Using knowledge, using the powers, and knowing that we're going to the destination, and we will come back and do the whole thing all over again in exactly the same way, and we'll still reach the destination. And it's okay. And wherever you are, there'll be people, there'll be somewhere to be, There'll be something to eat, something to wear, things to do, service to do. It's fine, right? And so we can be okay about it all. So is it okay to be a deity and a Shudra both together? It wasn't okay an hour ago. So it depends on thinking about it in a way that you come to terms with it. And that, you know, in music, they have something called the treble clef. Have you seen the treble clef? It goes like this, round and up and down. And that's our existence. We go round and up and down. And that's the music. The swastika, this is the swastika. Swa-astika. I am the deity. I am the Shudra. That's swastika. I am the deity who becomes a Kshatriya, who becomes a Vaishya, who becomes the... This one mantra, hum so hum, you know this one? So hum Atma, so Devta, so Kshatriya, so Vaishya, so Shudra, so Brahman, so Devta, etc. Then you have the 5 forms, right? That's the other one up there. And these 5 forms is also interesting because they're all the perfect ones. So you're a point, yes? Oh no. Yes. Huh? And you come down on earth, you become a deity, yes, that's pretty good. And then you become worship worthy, right? Who are these deities in the temples? Could be someone, they're memorials. That's you. And then after that, you become Brahmin, you know, and we're in the process of becoming good Brahmins. That's okay. Then you become Farishta. Farishta is perfect. And then you become again point. So you don't mind going through that cycle because every single bit of it is perfect. But then we have to go through the other one as well. That's the real one. Does this all make sense to you?
They're all perfect.
They're all perfect. They are, because they realize that all their problems are predestined. So nothing to do. And do you find that you feel all right about all the things that are all wrong? Because that's a very strong position to be in if you can feel all right about everything that's all wrong. Then the other thing that people are concerned about is insecurity. People like predictability. But at the moment, the world is very uncertain, yeah? Are you comfortable in uncertainty or uncomfortable? Uncomfortable? But you know that whatever happens, according to Baba, whatever happened so far is fine. Whatever's happening now, it's good. And whatever will happen will be great. So even if it's uncertain, you say whatever it is, it'll be fine. So, because it's fixed in drama, we got through it the last time, so we get through it this time exactly the same way. You're still here, right? So every 5,000 years we will be together. Is that okay? Yes. We're very nice people, no? Yeah, very nice. When you have an argument in the family, it's like a drama. So you're an actor, and there's a fight going on. Have you seen movies without fights? No, they always have fights. And the fight, everything is a nice point from the Gita also. It says, everything in this world, it arises, persists for some time, and then it subsides. And that includes fights. So the fight is coming. Oh, we got to fight now. All right. We'll have a fight. And then you're an actor, so you got to be skillful fighter, right? You can't be like Arjun, I don't want to fight. I mean, we would prefer not to fight, but you will fight. And so then you have to be skilled fighter, because if you go to battle and you don't have any skills, it won't look very good. So you have to think of your reputation. So there's a fight in the family, and you fight over some small thing, right? And there may be some accusations and some name calling and all the usual suspects. And so you say, okay, here we go again, because it's not the first time, right? It happens every so often. And it usually happens in a similar manner. And the purpose of the repeated wars that go on in the family is so that you can become more skilled at doing that particular scene in drama, because you're an actor. An actor has to be able to deal with fights. And so you find yourself in that situation again and again and again. And then what Baba suggests to us is, when that particular piece of drama's over, you go back, and even it's a good idea to put your camera on and, film it all, because the camera doesn't lie. And when you're in the thick of a fight, you don't really realize how you're functioning. You know how you feel about it, but you don't know how it looks to an outside observer. So if you can record it, you get to be able to see things about yourself that you may not realize, but which emerge in the heat of the moment. And then you say, oh, yeah, I don't think that looks very nice in me. But if you didn't have that fight, you wouldn't know about it. Because when everything is nice, you look nice. So that's okay. But then he wants us to refine ourselves. And so in bad situations, we get to see things about ourselves that need attention. And so the reason the fight is there is so that we can know that I need to give attention to this aspect of my character. I'm on camera all the time. And then even when I don't think it's on, right? And then I get the footage and I have to edit it, and I see all sorts of things about me. Oh, I cut that one out, because it doesn't look so good. But it stays in, look, don't do that, you say to yourself. So I find it very useful to see how it is. And some people, they have like CCTV. And if you can set one up in the place where you normally have battles with your family members, and maybe even it show happens. Everybody, let's watch TV ourselves.
Yeah, it should be on then 24/7 then.
Well, yeah, it should. Yeah.
Just
yeah. But there are, they keep the camera for the babies. And so these cameras are available, and you can just put it on just to get an idea about yourself from the outside, because it's really quite difficult to realize how we are from the inside. But the camera will give us a view of ourselves from the outside. And I find it helpful because you really realize that, oh, yeah, that's not very good, is it? You can't deny it because it's there,